Let's do it.
We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. If you would, Madam Clerk, take the roll call.
Okay, Ms. Pace-Snook. Present. Ms. Reclue. Ms. Sabacher. Present. Mr. Shiverdecker.
Here.
Mr. Simmons.
Present.
Mr. Stone.
Present.
Mr. Washington.
Here.
And Mr. Braun.
Present.
7 council members present and 1 absent.
And Pastor Williamson is not available tonight, so our very own Reverend Washington is going to do our invocation. Thank you.
Please. All heads bow. Dear Heavenly Father God, we thank you because of your goodness and your mercy. Once again, we thank you, O God, for all that you have already done for us to come together one more time. God, we're asking that you look on those that are not able to be here. Pastor Williams, God, that you would just, oh God, touch his body and give him a speedy recovery. Lord, we thank you. Lord, look on our leaders and our countries. Oh God, we're asking that you bring this country together. Lord, we're asking that you look on government officials, oh God, that are doing their jobs. Give them the skills and the ability to be able to do their jobs. Look on our local government here, oh God. Look on our leaders, our mayor, councilmen, Lord, and people at the heads of the department, that you give them the tools that they be able to do justly and fairly. Lord, we thank you for all those who have come in attendance on today, that you will minister and Lord, then just minister to their needs, whatever their needs might be. But we ask that you guide our council into making good decisions based on the people's needs. And Lord, we're asking that you just give us the insights and the skills and the wisdom, oh God, to govern the people. Lord, we thank you for all things. In Jesus' name we pray, thank God. Amen.
Amen.
Let's look toward the flag, please.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Bob. Okay, at this time, we're going to do our annual employee recognition. We have lots of folks that have made some milestones this year. Normally, we do this at the annual picnic, but of course, with COVID, we haven't been able to do that, but it's important that we do make this recognition. It's a symbol of our gratitude on behalf of the City Council, the city staff, myself, and the citizens of Fulton for all that you guys do. So we do appreciate the work that you do and the years that you put in. So I think I'm going to come down to the podium and hand these out as Courtney will read the names off. Of course, I won't shake hands tonight, unfortunately. I'm a handshaker and I want to do it, but we can't do that. But
There you go. All right, well, while he makes his way down there, we're going to start tonight with our 5-year recipients. So if I call your name, and obviously if you're here tonight, please step forward to receive your certificate, and we'll also get a picture of you with Mayor Cannell as well. All right, so for 5-year recipients, we have Casey Bailey of Planning and Protective Services.
All right.
Next, I have Lucas Bell of the Police Department. Not seeing Lucas. And then I have Carl Bronner of Solid Waste.
I recognize that face, sort of.
Next is Tadeo Britt of the Water Department. Next, I have Aaron Cowenberg of Parks and Recreation. Lawrence Doyle of the Water Department. Zach Gregory of the Garage Department. Crystal Kent, Police. David R. Miller, Utilities Administration. Michelle Nicholson, Police. Joshua O'Neill, Garage. Joshua Thompson, Engineering. Joseph Sean Wallendorf of Fire. And finally, we have Michael Ward of Building and Grounds. All right, well, congratulations to all of you for your Thank you, sir. All right, next we'll move on to our 10-year recipients. First, we have Brandy Mental, Police. Next is Daniel Breeden, Street. Ronald Custard, Power Plant. Doug McGrath, Police. Merritt McLeod, Fire. Lance Reams, Police. Darren Wernig, Administration. And James Wilson from the Water Department. All right, well, thanks for representing.
I've noticed we get a much better turnout when we feed people. At the city picnic, almost everybody's there.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the 15-year recipients. We have Jason Barnes, Police. Kyle Bremer, Engineering.
Time flies.
15 years as the interim engineer.
Timothy Clay Caswell, Parks and Recreation.
She enjoyed that.
Yes, I did.
Timothy Clay.
Remember that one. Tuck that one away.
Timothy.
Next, I have Daryl Dunlap, Utilities Administration.
Well, that's a pretty good year, folks.
Somebody did some really good hiring there.
Some good hiring 15 years ago.
Well, it was both a good year and a bad year.
I was trying to find a way to say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that year had its ups and downs.
William Egley, Cemetery. Sandra Jean Forbes, Finance. Irving Garbison, Fire.
I didn't recognize that mask. Man.
Kathleen Holschlag, Finance.
I'll take my mask off. You don't say anything.
Well, as I said.
And then put it back on.
I said, as I said. That's,
He took a picture, I just, okay, I'm putting it in. Put it in the paper, I got rid of the mask.
Smile, Kathy.
Candace Johnson, Finance. Brian Schmidt, Fire.
All right, Brian.
Robert Shodey, Building and Grounds. Joseph Schramm, Police. And Craig Stubblefield, Power Plant. All right. All right, next we have 20 years, and we have 2 recipients tonight. Our first one is Terry Harmon, Electric Department, and William Ladwig, Police Department. And they're not here tonight. All right, next is 25 years, and I know at least one of these gentlemen is here this evening. We have Dan Dunn of the Gas Department and David McCormick, Solid Waste.
All right.
It's been a hard 25 years.
He can do the every other week.
You can do the right side of the road.
There you go.
All right, thank you guys for 25 years. All right, and our final recipient tonight with 35 years, and he doesn't look any older than the day he joined us. Richard Elzenrath, Engineering. Come on down.
well, I'm going to stand up for this
I
one.
wasn't.
Congratulations, Richard. Don't be late tomorrow.
Take tomorrow off.
Oh, tomorrow, yeah, go ahead, take the day off tomorrow.
All of you take the day off.
All right, well, thank you all so much for coming. We do really appreciate your work, and I believe this council, as well as the staff, recognizes that without each and every one of you, the city wouldn't run. It's not the people who run our offices, it's not the people who work in City Hall only, it's every single one of you who show up every day and make this place a better place. So thank you very much. And while I'm sure you're eager to stay for the entire meeting, if you don't want to, you are okay to leave. But you're welcome to stay if you want to hang around.
But no food.
And there they go.
Thank you.
We can go?
Bill, you go right
I
ahead.
guess we have to stay.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I'm glad we did.
Missed the tour of the rec center.
Carl, where'd you get your mask?
I like it.
Oh, that's great.
That's a good one.
Some masks almost
All
just
right.
fit people. Just
At this time, we have a public hearing. This will be for the purpose of presenting for consideration the adoption of the proposed 2021 City of Fulton budget and 3-year capital plan. The format, there will be one public hearing on this evening's agenda for the purpose of, I already read that. Okay. The format of the hearing will be as follows. I will issue 3 calls for anyone wishing to speak in opposition, then 3 calls for anyone who wishes to speak in favor. We ask that you come to the podium, state your name and address. The council will not interact with you during the public hearing, but may choose to do so later in the meeting. The hearing is now declared open. There will be 3 calls issued in opposition. First call, is there anyone present who wishes to speak in opposition of this matter? Second call, is there anyone who's present who wishes to speak in opposition? And third call, anyone present who wishes to speak in opposition of this matter? Hearing none, we'll move on to calls for in favor of the matter. First call, is there anyone present who wishes to speak in favor of this matter? Second call, is there anyone present who wishes to speak in favor? And third call, anyone present who wishes to speak in favor of this matter? All right, this public hearing is now closed, and we'll move on to our regular agenda. At this time, we'll take comments from visitors. Anyone present who wishes to address the council may do so. Just step up to the podium, state your name and address, and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, please. All right, seeing no one come forward, we'll move right along. Approval of the consent agenda. Council members may choose to remove an item for discussion prior to the approval. Tonight we have the approval request from Kelly Nicholson on behalf of Kingdom Christian Academy for the 3rd annual Jingle Bell Run 5K to be held on Saturday, December 5th at 9 a.m. The request has been approved by Chief Myers. They'll be using the Stinson Creek Trail and will not require police assistance, so that's going to be an easy one.
Move to approve the consent agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Second?
Very good. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes,
Yes.
and opposed, no. All right. Unfinished business, we're going to talk just a little bit about COVID, give you guys an update on some of the protocols that we've put in place in the last 2 weeks. And Mr. Johnson, if you would.
As far as the
Buildings and we've started using masks.
we implemented a mask policy for the city staff. If they're out, we have some exceptions. If they're outside or if they're in an active emergency. If you're in your office or your cubicle and are adequately to social distance, you can take your mask off. But if you're pretty much outside your office or in a common area of the building, we want you to mask up. And if we have more than 2 people in a truck or a vehicle, we want both of those occupants to be wearing masks. We recently purchased numerous hand sanitizing stations. I think you noticed one right outside the door to the council chambers. We have installed those. Jeremy Polston from the Building and Grounds and his crew went around to every single city facility and installed the hand sanitizing stations, hopefully where the department heads wanted them. I think Jeremy had trouble getting a hold of the 1 or 2 department heads to find out exactly, but he just put them up then kind of where he thought that it was a natural place. We tried to put them at the entrances and the exits to the building. So people could either use it right when they came in or they could use it again when they came out. What else have we, I think that's about.
We did take the fogging machine from the county out to hospital and fog. How many buildings did we do?
Recently, we fogged the police, fire, and city hall.
Okay. And about how long did that take?
I think they did all 3 buildings in like less than 2 hours. And that's kind of been, I don't want to say standard protocol, but every time we do get a positive, and we're up to, we probably had 8 or 9 positives across city staff so far. We bring in, we try to get the fog machine and at least fog that specific area of that individual and or the surrounding area. And Jeremy's been real good about that. I'd like to thank the county commissioners for purchasing that equipment and loaning it out and making it available to any of the businesses across the county that need and want it. Pretty much the only thing they say is, since they only have 3 of them, please come and borrow it, but and use it right away and take it back so that it's available for somebody else to check out and utilize. And they've been very heavily utilized, and they're creating the disinfectant at the local hospital. The disinfectant's called Danolite. They actually have 2 machines now that make it. And if you need some Danolite for your personal use, the hospital is literally giving it away. So what they would like you to take your own
Container.
half-gallon or gallon container to the hospital, but they will fill it up and just give it to you.
And they've been more than encouraging us to come out anytime we want to. If it's available, come and use it. They want us to use it. And I don't know if we keep getting positive, it's not a bad idea to just Monday morning.
By the next time we meet, I anticipate we had some windows put in across the openings. The frames are all been installed, and within the next 2 weeks, I think tomorrow morning. I think tomorrow while we're all closed. I think Jeremy's going to be coming to work tomorrow to work with the glass company to get the glass installed in the windows in City Hall.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Johnson, yeah, I agree. I was able to borrow from the county, and they loaned it out, and they just says, just call, and there's some lady that will make an appointment for you to pick it up. And we were able to use it at our church, and once you know that you had a case in the church, they said that you probably want to go ahead and do it. And I asked them how often. They said, well, just if you had that, it's probably once every month or something like that. But they were very helpful, very willing to, hey, if you need it, give us a call. And like you said, Bill, like you said, they just said, get it back as quick as you can, but because somebody else might want to use it. Thank you, Bill.
So you said we've had multiple people test positive.
We have.
Have we seen employee-to-employee transmission, or is it pretty much they're getting infected outside of work?
To my knowledge, the employees are getting infected outside of work. We have not had one department or one shift have numerous maybe two. But like, I think right now, in the last 5 or 6 days, we've had like 3 positive cases. And just to be, like, I don't know if those 3 people even know each other. It's 3 different buildings, it's 3 different departments. The question was kind of raised, is it something that we can do better to stop the transmission? Well, I can make you wear a mask when you're at work, but I can't make you wear one at night and when you're at home. And I can't control your spouse. And one of the cases we have right now, there's a reasonable possibility that the child brought it home from school and gave it to the parents. So we can control when they're on the clock,
Right.
but their personal actions off the clock is beyond our control. But we have not seen an outbreak in a department,
Right.
which we're very thankful and very fortunate of that.
So it looks like the mitigation things that you're doing are helping.
I would say what we're doing at this point in time
Yeah.
is doing a nice job.
Okay.
It's serving the intent.
So I just have a couple things that I'd like to throw out there. First off, I would really, really, really appreciate if we would take a hard look as the city anyway, to maybe figure out a way to allow employees to use sick time instead of PTO time for if they're out. I just, to a
If
certain
an
number.
employee tests positive, the very first day that they're tested is counted to sick time and all remaining days after that.
Okay, that's if a positive, but we have people being quarantined and kept up that they're having to use PTO time instead of sick time, or as your example in the email that you sent, that you were going to allow people to use PTO time and go into a negative on PTO time. If they have sick leave, let them use some, see if we can use some of that time up. This is unprecedented. You know, we're watching businesses all over town that are struggling to keep people in spots. Financially, it's hurting the business. Financially, it's hurting the employees. It's hurting everybody. And what can we do differently? And I'll beg people to please do your part. Wear a mask. Help your neighbor. Help others. It's not about me. It's about others as well. If you're around people, please wear them. It's not the end of the world. I do not like them, but I will do it for others. I'm done with my soapbox.
I think you made a very good point there, John. I'd also like to note that today, Callaway County went into the red as far as positive cases. So that's just a sign that we might be in for, a rough couple months here. And I echo John's sentiment that masks are important. We are going to keep this topic on our agenda going forward until things change. I think it's important for us to talk about it and keep it at the forefront.
And
Mr. Mayor?
what I'm hearing from all different sources is it's not people going to a restaurant or people going to a grocery store. It's people having family gatherings. Their next door neighbors, their cousins, whatever, that the infection is spreading.
Yeah, I think
And as much as I was shocked by the numbers that came through and said, maybe we need to go ahead and start the ordinance, that's not going to fix that problem because it doesn't cover what people do in their own houses or in their backyards or with their friends or whatever. And it just puts more of a burden on the businesses here in town.
Mr. Ballard, I understand what you're saying, and I know that probably through family members and various things and gatherings and things, but we talked about this, about when to implement when we saw cases, and we were very strong about when we really start seeing them rise up, that we need to take action. And we finally came to a point where we decided to get an ordinance ready. And we were been talking about how when the question was, what is the threshold then where we're ready to really go ahead and take a position as a city, because take a position as a city of mass ordinance. And we can just say we got a 30-day mass ordinance just to see if it brings some changes in our circumstances or things like that, and we could revisit. We've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. Somewhere, I believe that we need to really start looking at our next meeting to look and see if we can bring this to a vote and look for a mass ordinance in the city of Fulton for 30 days or to see what happens. Hopefully we get a vaccine and things begin to change. Maybe that's...
Well, even if you get a vaccine
I'm just-
this month, it's
Yeah.
not going to, it's
I
not
agree
going
with that. I'm
to
just
change the
saying-
numbers for several months.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know
Yeah.
that from what I've been hearing about when it's going to
But-
when things are going to take place. But
When I saw the jump in numbers from
yeah,
the 50s to the 80s,
yeah,
that's, okay, I'm done.
yeah.
Okay, we got too many idiots out there who refuse to wear their masks. Maybe we need to go ahead and implement the ordinance. But like I said, the ordinance is going to hit the businesses in town.
Yeah,
It's not going to hit Joe Blow having a birthday party or whatever. And that's where just common sense.
you're right. I know you guys can get points there, and I don't have any problem with that. But somewhere down the line, we need to start somewhere. We may not get every situation. We may not get 100%. But somewhere down the line, we as a city of Fulton, we got to let the people in our community know we care about them. And we just sitting up here just waiting, twiddling our thumbs.
I know
just saying-
if Fulton implements a mask ordinance, maybe that would encourage the county to try to come up with something.
I don't believe that.
I don't either, but...
I have zero confidence in that.
See, the
but-
county's waiting
and
on
I-
us.
I saw a news report before I came over here that Boone County is getting inundated, their hospitals
Right.
are getting inundated with infections from outside Boone County. We got to do something,
Yeah, I'm with you. I believe that
and Thanksgiving's coming up, and all that's Christmas is coming up.
Well, I'll tell you, the fact that it's on the agenda, whether it be tonight or 2 weeks from now or 4 weeks from now, all I need is a motion, and you can vote on it. Motion in a second, and we can talk about it and vote
I've
on it.
moved that we put this to be bring to a vote our next meeting for a mass ordinance, if we're done with the discussion.
Mr.
So we're-
Washington, I don't disagree that we talked about a threshold and we asked for input and help from others. I am not a doctor. I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm just an average guy. Do I know all the answers? I certainly do not. 3, 4, 5 months ago, I think that would have been a great idea to try to nip it. To do it now, I'm torn. I don't have information. As we've been saying all along, we don't have information. We don't have solid information.
And John, I don't think we're going to get it.
Well, I can agree with you too.
Yep.
But maybe it's time to do like Jeff recommended the last time, and we write another letter to our health department and ask, what's going on?
Well, and my concern with the data this evening, and I believe we need to give Mr. Washington the respect. He's made a motion, and we need to either second it, and then we can continue discussion. I do think we need to respect the motion that Mr. Washington's made
So
on the table.
let me ask a question about your motion. You're not asking for an approval of an ordinance today. You're asking that we put the ordinance on for approval at the next meeting. Is
The
that
ordinance
the
would
first
be-
reading at the
Yes.
next meeting?
That's correct.
Yes, the
Yes.
ordinance would be for first reading at the next meeting, and it would be the ordinance that has already been provided to you guys.
Then I will second that motion.
Now for continued discussion. This morning I started the day thinking we would be pushing for an ordinance tonight and I was going to be in support of it because the numbers have risen so much and because of what I do for a living. But I do not have any faith at the moment in the numbers we're getting from the county health department. And I don't like saying that. That is something that I wish I did not have to say out loud. But I am concerned that did we truly see 30 new cases added on to active disease state cases in this city in 3 days? Or did the numbers rise simply because the old numbers haven't come off? And that's what I understand, is that I've been told that there are many, many cases on the active list that came out yesterday morning that have been on that list for 15, 20 days. And the normal cycle is 10 days. And if all we're doing is adding each new case, then yes, of course, all we're going to see is an increase in cases.
But
So,
we're talking 2 weeks, and hopefully they correct the numbers.
And that's what I
And we
would like to see.
can, we can see what goes on in 2 weeks.
And we need to see the
3 weeks?
positivity rate. How many tests are being done on Callaway residents and city residents, and how much of that's coming positive?
2 weeks, yeah.
Cole County is up to 30% positive. 1 in 3 people tested in Cole County, it's coming back positive. Cole County's in the red, Boone County's in the red. Audrain went red this morning, and we're probably going red by Friday because of
We went
our
red
numbers.
today.
We already
Or we
there.
went red today because of the numbers that are being reported.
And Jeff City doesn't have a mask ordinance, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
They have a recommendation.
Mr. Stone, I do not disagree with anything, but I also know that there's people that I know personally who have tested positive, who have said they have not ever received a phone call from Callaway County Health Department.
I don't,
I don't doubt it. Well, you saw
I
in the
accept
paper,
that as true.
the health department closed because they can't keep up with the contact tracing.
Now,
So they closed for other business just so they could try to catch up.
I've
And
also heard
Closed
different
because
about
they had
that.
an issue,
Yeah,
a positive.
That's,
They closed because
that's
they had
what
a
the
positive.
paper said.
well, I've
That's what they want you to know.
Okay.
heard
the
that
information you have.
that the health department has positive cases within it. And I'll put it out there, I'm not,
Okay, whatever.
that's why they're closed.
But we can sit here and talk about it in 2 weeks, and we can talk about it in 4 weeks, and we talk about it in 6 weeks. And absolutely nothing's going to get done because nobody seems like to have the common sense to wear their masks. Or we can go ahead and get this ordinance looked at on the agenda, talk about it in serious discussion, get it passed, or not get it passed, whichever. And maybe people will think a little more strongly about wearing a mask when they are with other people. But if we continue to talk about it, nothing will get done.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
on that reading, the first reading, is it possible, I know at our last, one of the meetings that we had, we can do a second and third on the same night?
Yes, we
Is that possible?
Yes, so it would
Okay.
be
Yeah.
possible, and actually that would be a great thing to discuss after we go ahead and vote on this motion.
Thank
It would
you.
be possible for me to draft that in such a way that it would be an emergency ordinance.
Thank you.
Meaning that we could do all 3 readings in one night.
Thanks for,
It would simply just be adding an additional clause stating that it's an emergency,
Yeah.
and that would be very easy to
Would
do.
we,
Thanks for
would we need
clarity.
to do a special meeting for an emergency ordinance, or could we do that within a
regular
normal
meeting.
You
meeting?
could, nope, you could do it at a
We-
regular meeting.
We
Okay.
could do a special meeting, though. That's an option.
I think if we leave it as is, as the motion is, for the next council meeting, that does give us 2 weeks. Hopefully, numbers can be evaluated and corrected if need be. You know, hopefully they're inflated, but if they're not, I mean, we definitely need to be seriously discussing this mask ordinance. And so I think if we have it on the agenda for our next meeting, that's a good time for it.
And I would like to, I know I've mentioned before, Mr. Mayor, that I would like for this ordinance to be in conjunction with the state of emergency, but I acknowledge that it does not have to be, and we've made a motion for it to be on the table without a state of emergency, and I fully respect that and appreciate that. But if we're going to talk about it, I would like for us to also discuss the possibility of also enacting the state of emergency. If we're at that point, we might also need to look at our occupancy rates within resident or within businesses and all the other things that we did back in the spring to quell our numbers and to try and keep this down. I think we need to discuss those other tools in our toolbox as well as the ordinance, if you see fit.
Thanks for a clarification, appreciate that.
And I will clarify as well that while this motion, and I will read it again before we vote on it, while this motion simply states to add it to the next agenda, it is completely understandable for Mayor Cannell to instruct me to place it as an emergency ordinance for next time.
Sure.
It's completely appropriate for the city council to reach out to Mayor Cannell and say, we feel this is, necessary for it to be an emergency ordinance. So that's not something that has to be contained in your motion tonight, but those discussions can continue as we lead up to the next.
If we do talk about an emergency or declaring an emergency, we would need to talk about what does that gain us?
Right.
What different things are put in place if we declare an emergency?
It honestly seems like a lifetime ago when we did it, so we would have to
Yeah.
dig
Right.
back into that, and we can certainly do that.
And I think the ordinance talks about occupancy limits, and so we need to talk about it.
Yep.
Yeah, and I do want to clarify as well, as Councilman Stone has, a declaration of emergency and an emergency ordinance are two very different things. Mayor Cannell can enact a state of emergency on his own without council action. So again, those are conversations that can continue to happen, but just keep in mind they are two separate items.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Since it's been a while since we drafted the ordinance, would you, and I don't expect you to have it readily available with you now, but can you kind of, maybe for the folks that are watching, do a little refresher or a reminder about specifically what's in the ordinance, the enforcement of the ordinance, and ramifications of not following the ordinance?
Yeah, it has been a little bit since that has been taken a look at, August. So I'm not going to lie, I probably need to freshen up on it a little bit myself, but it does provide some occupancy limits. It provides some situations where masks must be worn and some exemptions to when masks do not have to be worn. There are fines set forward, and those fine schedules follow our city code. So ultimately, it's up to the judge. If a ticket is written because someone doesn't wear a mask, it is up to the judge to decide how much that fine would be. And that is consistent with all of our offenses, a code violation. Enforcement would be handled by the Fulton Police Department. And so I think that's another thing that we probably would want to logistically discuss, how that process is going to work. But it talks about restaurants, buffets, sporting events, basically social distancing and good practices in general, but it further requires a mask unless otherwise exempted.
And one concern I would have is where the emergency order and the declaration might overlap and conflict with each other. So we might really want to look at that and make sure that we're consistent on some of the regulations that are stipulated in that mask ordinance. So we can dig into that, and we'll try to get some information out
And
to you.
talk about it in 2 weeks.
Yep. Yep.
I just would like to finish by, my last comments is, I would encourage everybody, please, please, please wear masks. And let's try to get through this thing on our own. An ordinance is a law that we're putting in place. And if we can't do it on our own, then somebody else has to, and that's where the issue is with me. And I do believe it's having a financial impact on individuals. I believe it's having a financial impact on businesses. And in turn, that involves and hurts our sales tax revenue for the city of Fulton. And I think we will see an impact on it. I'm fairly confident we will.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for the clerk.
Yep.
Just for protocol. if we were wishing to, in 2 weeks, when we discuss the ordinance, if we were wanting to put a time limit on that, would that be part of the motion that night in terms of how we adopt the ordinance? Or would that need to be written into the ordinance that's brought before on the agenda?
It would need to be as part of the ordinance. I will say, I recollect that there is a section that specifically states the sunset of the ordinance. So we would need to agree upon whatever date you all want to put in that place, but it would need to be written into the ordinance.
And can we do that as part of the discussion and the ordinance voting?
Yes.
Or does that need to be written prior to?
It's either way. If, let's say, internal discussions, we decide that it's going to be 30 days. Mayor Cannell thinks that 30 days is appropriate. That would be brought forward to the city council, and then you guys would still have the opportunity to amend to make any sort of changes like that date.
Thank you very much.
There's an opportunity to change that.
Thank you. That was the details I needed going forward.
Very good. So I have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any more discussion on this?
Just to clarify what you're voting on.
Yes, thank you.
So tonight, Councilman Washington made the motion to place an ordinance for face covering requirements on the next city council agenda. We will discuss a little bit further whether it'll be an emergency ordinance or it will just simply be a standard ordinance that we do over the course of at least 2 meetings. But this motion is just simply to place that ordinance that we've already drafted and taken through legal review onto our next agenda.
That's correct.
Very good. Any more discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no.
No.
All right, if you are a no, could you raise your hand for me? All right, I have Councilwoman Sabacher and Councilman Shiverdecker. Thank you.
All right, that was good discussion. Like I said, we'll keep talking about it whatever we do next week or next meeting. We're going to keep this at the forefront. At this time, we'll move on to new business. Debbie LaRue is here on behalf of the Brick District to request council authorization for a liquor license.
And I told Debbie I would kind of do a quick rundown for you guys. I believe most, if not all of you, or probably not all of you, but are familiar with the fact that this location, the Playhouse, what was the Playhouse Bistro, is now the Playhouse Cafe, is within 100 feet of a church. So by city code and by state statute, there are a list of rules that we have to follow in order to grant them a liquor license. We have notified all property owners within 100 feet of the location that the application was made for the liquor license. They were notified of this meeting tonight and told that while there isn't any action necessary on their part, they were welcome to come and express any concerns or reach out to the Planning and Protective Services Director. To my knowledge, there was not any communication regarding that from any of those people. But basically tonight, in order to suffice the state statute and the city code, I need permission from the city council to grant that liquor license to this applicant. And again, some of you will remember we did this in 2016 for the same location. The reason we're doing it again tonight is because we have a different applicant, a different name. So I believe and Debbie, I will have you come up just to clarify so I don't give any wrong information, but the Brick District Board, the Callaway Arts Council is actually the applicant this time around. Is that correct?
The Brick District Playhouse.
The Brick District Playhouse.
The Brick
Okay.
District Playhouse.
So the Brick District Playhouse is the applicant this time, and I think that's a really excellent way to do this so that we're not putting it in one person's name like happened previously in 2016. That way, if there's any sort of staffing changes, we don't have to go through this process again and again. It allows them to go ahead and keep their license. So, and Debbie is here if you guys have any questions for her specifically. They were granted a license in 2016. Again, we're doing it again because we have some new staff.
So what does this liquor license encompass?
Yeah.
And
So,
go ahead.
yep.
What are you allowed to serve?
If the Brick District Playhouse has an event, and whomever is having the event, if they want to sell or offer liquor, we can then provide the liquor for sale.
So this is any
Beer, wine, alcohol.
Right.
hard liquor, whatever.
Right.
Now, I think beginning of this year, last year, there was an event there where they asked us to allow liquor out on the street.
Oh, that was,
This does not allow that?
No.
This is
No.
different.
This is
Okay.
different.
yeah, that was a couple years ago, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The
Right.
Brick District Playhouse, the Playhouse Cafe is within the Brick District Playhouse, yeah. So and also, the Playhouse Cafe is going to start serving brunch, and we would like to be able to serve a mimosa if someone wants one, or maybe a Bloody Mary. But one of the things, when we spoke with the churches, we assured them before and also this time, we will never be a bar. That is
Oh, that was
not
my next
our...
question. Okay.
Absolutely not. That's not our intent. And we also, we need to be good neighbors. And we will be good neighbors to our churches and to the other businesses that are close by. That is not our intent.
So this would
At all.
mainly be for special events?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And then for brunch.
Brunch.
Yeah.
No,
On the
So
weekend.
just a
it
crazy.
would be a regular menu item for the
Yeah, it is.
brunches, and I don't think it's, I hear special event mean different
It
than
would allow,
brunch.
it would allow them to cater for special
Right.
events, but it
Right.
would grant them the authority to day-to-day have alcohol sales.
Monday, Tuesday lunch.
Right.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Bill, what did you say?
Monday or Tuesday lunch. You could go in there
No.
and have
Well,
a,
that's not our intent.
Mm-hmm.
Our
it would allow
intent
for
is
that.
just for
but it would allow
brunch.
for that.
Right, the license would grant them that authority to do that, but their intent is obviously not the same.
Right.
And I will point out, you know, Tom and Debbie, everyone was really great about being very proactive on this and going out and talking to the churches ahead of time. So when we contacted them, the churches were aware. So yes, there's a little gray area there as far as what their intent is versus what the license actually grants them.
Right.
They will have the opportunity to have a full license. The intent is that they will be doing, you know, their brunches and their special events and occasionally a day-to-day drinks.
So
Debbie, my
this is a
question really
permanent
doesn't,
license?
Yes.
doesn't really
So
have any,
just-
go ahead, John, sorry.
I'm sorry. Just really curious. Last October, was it not licensed? We had a Halloween party there that I attended,
Yeah.
Me too.
and I will have to say I had a beverage or two.
Right? So at that time, again, it was licensed as the Playhouse
Gotcha.
Bistro.
Okay, thank
Right.
you.
And now we're looking at a new entity. They have obtained their business license, which is their prerequisite. So there has been a changeover. And again, that's why
So
you're
it
seeing
changed
it now.
hands.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes.
My question is just mostly a question of curiosity. It doesn't necessarily have any bearing on the decision one way or the other. What does the liquor license either require or allow when it comes to people bringing their own alcoholic beverages with them?
They
Does it
can't.
now prevent that from happening
They
to where
don't.
alcohol can only be consumed if it's purchased? Is that what
Provided.
a license does?
Provided by us.
Okay.
If there's any liquor to be consumed, it must be provided by us. Then we've got the control of who's drinking, the 21, et cetera.
And how much? And,
Exactly,
thank you.
yeah.
And while our city code does not necessarily deal with consumption licenses, which is what you're talking about, that would be a major state violation that could potentially, like Debbie's talking about, if they did not control where that liquor was coming from, that could potentially put their state license in jeopardy. That would be very serious.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to understand.
And I
So
believe it
thank you
also
very much.
limits your ability to give alcohol away.
Correct.
Now, if they had a sponsor of an event, the sponsor could pay the bill, but you really can't give away alcohol.
Okay. Thank you. Those were the things that it was fuzzy in my brain of what was allowed, what wasn't, what was required, and what was the law. So thank you.
We run into that at the golf course.
Yes.
Motion to approve the Brick District Playhouse request as written.
Second.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no.
No,
All right, Councilman Washington? Only no? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Debbie.
May I also tell you that this Thursday, we will be celebrating a ribbon cutting at 2 o'clock
All right,
at the Playhouse Cafe after a lot of hard work.
beautiful,
And you are all welcome to attend. We would love to have you and your support.
beautiful, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we'll talk about property demolition program update.
Dennis Houchins is not here, but also I'll kind of fill in for what he was going to be talking about. He's looking at a couple properties in town next to each other, and I, just to keep, it's a real estate issue, if there's any sincere need to know what the properties, I'll share that with you in a private moment. But there's a couple properties in town that he's looking at are adjacent to each other. Both property, two different owners. Both property owners have indicated a willingness to discuss donating those to the city. It would be a situation similar to the two houses that we acquired over on Bluff and the property that we acquired on Ravine. The properties that we're talking about right now would probably require some city demolition and significant tree removal. But he has evaluated the properties and they're zoned appropriately. They could either be sold or conditionally dedicated for someone if they were going to build, a number of duplexes. Or he even said he thought the property would be big enough to put like maybe 3, even 8plexes on it. But before we proceed with this and actually acquire the property, I want to make sure the city council's on board with the concept of doing here what we did on Ravine and on Bluff.
And this is one of the options we talked about a while ago versus giving them a dumpster and not charging them and
Right,
it was one of the methods we talked about.
right. This would be a city-sponsored demolition.
And then our cost in terms of demolition would go on the tax books for the new property owners?
No.
It would just be
We're
our
just,
sunk cost.
guys, instead of us forcing a demolition and putting it on a tax bill that we probably would not get, we would just be spending the money up front, and we could go for maybe trying to get that back out of the developer that was willing to do the construction of the duplexes or the multifamily houses, or not. And before we would give the property or get rid of the property in some manner, that would be a city council decision and it's city council action on this is where the property goes, this is who's going to get it, and this is the conditions that have been placed upon the property for this transaction to happen. Whether it be a sale, whether it be a donation, whether it be that we give it in exchange for improvement, but based on the block that these two the adjacent pieces of property are on, it would be a significant improvement to the block in the neighborhood.
So we wouldn't automatically go out for bids from people to take over?
We would go out for proposals. What do you
Okay.
propose? If you were in possession of this property, what do you propose doing with it? Would you build 2 single-family houses? Would you build 3 duplexes? Would you build an 8plex and a duplex? We would take proposals to see what we thought the highest and best use of the property would be, and then come back to the city council with a recommendation on which proposal to accept.
Okay.
And to be clear, we would have to come to you guys for an ordinance to declare it a surplus property as well, because it's real estate. So there would be multiple opportunities for the city council to review and have some input.
Okay.
Mr. Johnson, is this agenda item informational only, or are you needing some sort of action from us this
I'm
evening
not
to
re-
move forward?
I'm just taking your temperature to make sure that you're still on board with proceeding with this type of program throughout the community.
Thank you. I
Yes.
just wanted to make sure you didn't need a motion from one of us. One item of discussion that I would like for the city to review prior to any disposition of the property is that we have had lots of opportunities to review community land trusts in this community. And this type of adjacent property in that location would be very ideal for that type of opportunity. Now, that has a whole lot of other things that you have to go through for that, But I think this is definitely a property that I would like for a very detailed and comprehensive discussion on community land trust prior to making a decision for disposition.
No problem.
And if we don't do anything here, probably nothing's going to be done, and it's just
No.
going to be a dilapidated property for
Right.
I think,
decades still.
I
I
like
think
the
you-
direction you're going with it at the
yeah,
moment.
I think you need to continue.
Okay. The right hand of the table says pretty same thing? Okay. All right, we're good. Thank you.
Cool kid.
All right, moving on, we did talk about recycling and yard waste earlier in our work session. And at this time, we might just kind of recap. The solid waste department, along with Mr. Boone, have come up with a schedule for next year on recycling and yard waste. We would be proposing to go 1 week recycling, the next week yard waste throughout the year. That way, some of the holidays fall on weird days, and there's accommodations made for that, to still not have folks going 2 weeks without getting picked up. So I think it's a pretty good plan.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adopt the plan that Mr. Boone presented to us during the work session.
Coming up later.
I'll
Oh, I thought
second
he
it.
was looking for something right now.
No, you're correct, Councilman Stone. If you want to make that motion, the item later will be the ordinance regarding some changes for recycling. This section is regarding the actual schedule.
Yeah,
Okay.
for both recycling, yard waste, and household
And
hazardous waste.
household
Do we
hazardous
need
waste.
a motion to do?
Yes, we do.
Yes,
I
we
want a
do.
motion for
That
that.
is my motion.
And I think,
Second.
Mr. Washington, you had a second on that?
Yeah.
And you'd like to say something?
Yes, will that also, is that in that motion about moving the yard waste to the warehouse?
But that's
I believe-
already in the process.
I said, okay, yep, I'm good, I'm still good on that.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's in the works. They've identified a spot for it. They're going to
I didn't
put
know
some
if we
gravel
needed a
down.
motion to move that. I'm good.
All right, again, for the public, we're doing some changes to try to keep the recycling program halfway sustainable here. So we're going to try this, and hopefully it helps. It doesn't mean this couldn't be changed mid-year if it's not working out. So I want that to be very clear that we project it to be very successful and to help with the program. So that being said, I do have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion?
I kind of want to further clarify just really quickly, since the public wasn't able to watch our work session. The proposed schedule and the motion that we have on the floor right now is to adopt a schedule change in order to allow for alternating yard waste and recycling week by week, and it would also take the household hazardous waste collections to 1 time per month between the months of April and October. This schedule, if it's adopted tonight, obviously we will make sure that it's published so that everyone's very aware of it. But for those of you who might be watching and didn't get that information, that's what we're talking about currently.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yeah, we'll try to keep the public as informed as possible when we get closer to time on the calendar, what it's going to look like. So we've got a little bit of time here. All right. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. Very good, thank you. Okay, moving on, item D, the adoption of Parks and Rec Community Center facility name. Clay's here to give us the vision they've come up with on that.
Okay. Parks Department is recommending that we go with the name Legends Recplex for the Recreation Center. The name would help us brand and market the facility. And it also goes along with the design theme, which would be to honor and recognize local citizens who have excelled in their professional or personal lives and who are kind of local legends. I've included some list of sample people that might fit that criteria, and then I've kind of gave you some information on what biographical information we would provide. And then in the back page of the information I provided is just some display units, some electronic display units where we might display that kind of information. So people that come into the building can read about these people, they can find out information, and know more about our history.
So with that being said, is that something that we would have to contact these people with, have them sign something saying that it was okay to use their name and have pictures of them at the building and facility?
I think
legally?
I think that would be the best way to go about it. Well, again, it's a project that's evolving. We would come up with some guidelines on how those people would be selected, what type of criteria they'd have to meet. And again, I think we'd either talk to them or their families. We talked about maybe getting some interviews with those people and having some electronic versions of interviews that people could
Because
listen
some
to.
of them may not want to.
Yes, they may not want to, and I don't think if someone told us they didn't want to be a part of this, we wouldn't do it.
And Clay, this is the recommendation from the park board?
The park board has reviewed it, had quite a bit of discussion on it. They didn't make an official recommendation. We talked about the naming quite a bit. We put it out there as a survey on Facebook. Didn't get any overwhelming support for any names. Few votes here for this name, few votes for the other name. What I got from the park board is that they kind of wanted to get away from using the words community center because there's a facility in town that utilizes community center. So that was kind of the big part of the discussion, but again, no recommendation was made.
Okay. I'm very uncomfortable bringing something to the council that is not being recommended by the park board.
Okay. We were asked to bring this to the council. We'll have another park board meeting probably mid-December. So the timing didn't allow for another park board meeting to happen.
It's very
I don't know, I think it's a good concept and should be pursued further.
The only thing that I would maybe like to see differently is, because it is
I
a
don't
city-owned
disagree,
building, something City of Fulton Legends Recplex, incorporate the city into it.
Yeah, I think we could work.
Adjusting the
Yeah,
the
we could work
layout.
that into the logo, and I think there's an understanding of the city of Fulton, kind of like Tanglewood is kind of with the city. But yeah, I think you could work that into the logo, the name, and people are going to call it different things. Some people might refer to it as Recplex, or they might shorten and say I'm the Legends. But I think all the advertising and things like that could easily include the word City of Fulton.
I think what we're hearing is that we need to take this back to the park board and have them officially recommend a name that we can officially recommend.
We can do that. And then I think the reason we're starting to talk about it now is that at some point before we spend a lot of money on signage and things like that, we definitely want to get the council's approval. So we can take it to the park board and we can bring it back.
Clay, would it be possible to have your park board meeting before our December meeting?
What's the date on that?
The 15th.
Yeah, we can try to get something scheduled for that.
And if it doesn't happen, we do it in January.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate Ms. Shiverdecker repeating the recommendation. I do not wish to entertain anything that is not being recommended by the park board at this point.
Very good. So we'll wait to hear back on that. Thank you, Clay. I also think it's a wonderful concept. We've got a lot of folks here in Fulton that are legends, and I think it'd be very appropriate to recognize them in that way. All right. Moving on, council concerns. I'll start to my right. Councilman Shiverdecker.
I'm good today.
Councilman Braun.
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Councilwoman Sabarker.
I have nothing, thank you.
Councilman Simmons.
No items today?
Councilman Stone.
No concerns, but I do want to wish Mr. Johnson and any other Marines a
Hoorah.
happy 245th Marine birthday today, and then also a happy Veterans Day tomorrow for all of our veterans in our community.
Thank you.
Nice call. Thank you for your service.
I would have struggled to pick the right number of years.
I had to do the math this morning when I made a joke to one of my Marine cousins. It's the only reason why I knew the number.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Pace Nook.
My only thing has already been kind of addressed. I did have someone reach out to me concerned about the number of people at a local business that were all congregated together, not wearing masks. This was emailed to me, and I think they might have brought it to your attention as well. And so I think that us taking action with a mask ordinance next council meeting will definitely help with that.
Very good. Councilman Washington.
First of all, I want to thank all our councilmen. Thank you for your support and respect that you have given to this new guy on the block. We appreciate all the love that you have given. Thanks.
You're a welcome addition, sir. Appreciate your insight. Okay. We'll start with resolutions here. First one, resolution number 3385. Councilman Simmons, if you would present this for us.
Yes, sir. Resolution number 3385, a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to enter into an agreement with the Callaway Chamber of Commerce of Fulton, Missouri, for services to be rendered in 2021 and establish an effective date. I make a motion we approve resolution number 3385 at tonight's meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. We did kind of hash out all of our differences on this, and it seems like we're pretty much on the same page. Are there any other questions or discussion about the contract? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. Very good. Moving on, Councilman Shiverdecker, if you would present resolution 3386.
Yes, sir. Resolution number 3386, a resolution authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to enter into a contract with the Central Security Systems of Jefferson City, Missouri, for security system services at the Community Recreation Center at an estimated value of $50,000 and monthly monitoring and maintenance fees. I make a motion to advance consideration for resolution 3386 at tonight's meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Excuse me. We did get to hear some of the details about the contract. It's basically the door locking mechanisms, fire panel, those types of things that encompass this contract. Sounds like we've worked with this company before in the past and had pretty good luck with them. Is there any more discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Okay, moving on to ordinances. Councilman Stone, if you would present bill number 1598.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Bill number 1598, an ordinance authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to sign all necessary documents in relation to the Accelerated Innovation Deployment, abbreviated AID, program to fund the 2nd Street Bridge replacement, authorizing the city's match, and accepting the grant award. I move to place bill number 1598 at second reading at the next scheduled council meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. We talked about this last week, or last meeting. It's going to replace the 2nd Street Bridge at a 80-20 matching grant. And it's scheduled to actually take place in 2022. And then 2021 will give us an opportunity to prepare the bridge. Is that right?
This is the bridge on 2nd Street that's very close to Oak Street. It's the one on Oak Street, near Dan User Supply.
Right. And the process is a quick construction project. Don't know what that
Innovative.
exactly means, but
It'll be a lot of preform panels. They'll bring they'll bring big chunks of this bridge into town on a semi and then set it with a crane. Do a lot of the legwork. It's supposed to be very accelerated and innovative.
Similar to the Roachport Bridge project, I think. Same ideal. Pay a little more, get it done quicker, saves on the hassle to the citizens.
It's a very important road to the community, so we need to do everything we can to accelerate that program and get that road back open to the travelers.
So the budget-wise money, part of it would be expended in 2021 with
Engineering,
expenditures into 2022. Engineering in 2021
yes,
monies, and then,
yes.
yeah, and then plus, then we got to look at the approaches on both sides, right?
That'll be part of the project, approaches. It'll be part of the city's contribution.
Okay.
So you're gonna reroute traffic.
What?
You gotta reroute traffic pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely for a little bit there.
yeah.
Yep. So, be a little painful for a few weeks probably.
Coming down Fifth Street.
I assume this would be a summertime or later project in 2022? The reason I'm asking, I would think, doesn't Ameren have an outage in the spring of 2022? John?
That is correct.
So that would be a bad time to do it, because there's going to be a lot more traffic on that road.
I think the communication with the state hospital and everybody else is essential to where the detour would be, but
That will all take place, but I'm not going to say we will schedule around the Ameren's outage. Because there are multiple ways through town to get from one side of the bridge to the other.
Okay.
But just some of those businesses right really close, yeah, it's going to affect them some.
And since it's a partnership with the state, it's probably going to be a decision-making partnership of some sort, I would think, on timelines.
It's just, I know Ameren brings
Good
in
thought.
a lot of big equipment. I don't know if it comes through the city of Fulton or goes up all the way over to Route D. I don't know.
a big part of it comes 94 up the heavy, if it's big equipment,
Up
it
the
comes
heavy
up
haul
the
road.
heavy haul road.
Heavy Haul Road, yeah.
Okay,
It doesn't come through Fulton.
You don't come through.
okay. We just need to think about it, that's all. We need to get it done.
Very good. Any more discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. Turn the page. Councilman Braun, if you would present 1599.
Bill number 1599, an ordinance amending Chapter 94 Solid Waste Fulton City Code by repealing certain sections pertaining to recycling, enacting the new sections in lieu thereof, and establishing an effective date. I make a motion to put 1599 for second reading at the next scheduled meeting.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. We've discussed this at some length.
Most of the changes you will see in this ordinance come from the discussion and motion in our last meeting. There are a few additional small items that we placed as just basically a cleanup, if you will. So in our current code, we didn't have it specified appropriately how you could put your yard waste out. It said it needed to be in a clear bag. Well, we haven't done that. You know, we haven't done that apparently since the 80s. So this clarifies a little bit better. It also lays out the changes that you all voted on. So effective January 1st, 2021, recyclables need to be in a container in order for them to be picked up. The reason that that is in this ordinance is because it is a codified ordinance. So when we talk about codified ordinances, I can't write, as soon as the city receives enough containers, we'll put this in effect. So I know that, you know, Mr. Johnson has said multiple times, it is understood that for those who have recycling containers, that fee will go to $2 a month beginning January 1st. For the people who do not have the containers because we're waiting on them, then obviously those changes won't necessarily go into effect for them. And I we'll let him clarify on that. But the reason it's laid out here is because it has to be for our city code.
So starting January 1st, we're going to stop picking up
No.
recycles?
No, we will still pick up curbside.
So we're going to
unless we
raise the
get enough
price
car-
for the people who already have the containers, but yet the people who don't have containers can still have free pickup.
That's the way I understand it.
Kind of.
Well,
Yeah, I'm not too fond of that.
let me,
You want to wait till we get enough containers?
Yes,
Okay.
I think we should wait till,
yeah.
for the
I
even,
think you're going to end up losing people before you even get started.
we talked about 50 people a day leaving recycling on the curb.
Yes.
I signed up for a recycling cart, and I'm 40th on the waiting list, not the 200th and 50th. So there's a lot of people who haven't signed, that recycle by putting it on the curb, but haven't signed up for a cart.
Or signed up after you did.
Or, yeah, so,
We will maintain the $1 a month rent on the blue carts until we have
Sufficient
enough
amount
carts
to
to
put the
satisfy the
ordinance
need.
into effect.
okay, and then then the ordinance will go into effect? Or?
Then we'll begin charging $2 a cart.
do we need to modify that?
Until we have enough carts to satisfy the need, it'll be $1 a cart.
Okay,
So
Because we might get 50 carts in, but we still have a waiting list of another 50 people.
right, I understand.
We would leave it at $1 a month
Okay, and still pick up
and still pick up
curbside
curbside.
until we have 0 on the waiting list.
Until we have
And then
0 on a waiting list.
automatically or magically it will go to 2 and
That's a
stop.
good way to put it. Until we have 0 on the waiting list, we'll stay at $1 a month for the
And then
blue
we
cart.
stop picking up
And we'll
curbside,
stop picking up curbside if it's not in the blue cart.
getting out of the truck.
Do
Okay,
we need to
yeah.
let this one, do we need to let this one die and then bring it back?
that's what I was wondering.
Yes, if you're gonna make these significant changes, then yeah, this one should just die.
Motion to strike my
Yeah,
request.
you can leave it there, we'll just vote it up.
Yeah, you can just leave it and vote no.
Just vote no.
Should I change it to tabling it? Just let it go
I am
away.
so sorry, I was listening to Councilman Braun, I did not hear. Right, yeah, no, I think because of these changes, we can definitely bring this ordinance back at a different time when it's more appropriate. It would be best for us to let this one, to vote it down.
Okay. Everybody understand what we're kind of going for here? Any more discussion? All those,
I just want to make sure everyone's aware that the intent is still to have the recycling go to $2 a month once everyone has blue carts.
Exactly.
And in order to recycle, once we have sufficient amount of carts, you will need to use the carts.
Very
So that
good.
it's not that this is completely going away, it's just on the back burner until we can actually get the carts in place.
We're going to cancel out this ordinance.
Yep.
I move that we,
And actually, Councilman Washington, we don't even, unless you have something different, we
No,
don't even
no.
need an additional motion.
okay, okay.
we could
Just need
just
to
vote
vote
this
no.
down.
Yep.
Just vote no.
That's perfect.
But we will still continue to make the move January 1 on yard waste /
Right.
recycling, back and forth.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
That's on.
Yeah,
we
that
already
was
passed
established earlier.
That's on, we already passed that.
Yep.
We already approved that one.
Is that clear as mud, Helen?
Helen says I'm way ahead.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Appreciate that. I was getting ready to.
Very good. All those in favor say yes. Opposed, no.
No.
Thank you.
Almost said yes, okay.
Shucks, I put my numbers in the wrong spot.
Okay, moving on. Councilwoman Sabacher, if you would present Bill 1597.
Yes, bill number 1597, sorry. An ordinance adopting an official budget and capital improvement program and appropriating the funds of the city for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2021 and ending December 31st, 2021. I make a motion to place bill number 1597 for third reading at the next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Discuss.
Pardon?
I just want, you go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
We're at
We-
discussion.
yeah, we're at the discussion part. Anybody have questions or?
In your packet, based on the discussion that the city council had at the last council meeting, Kathy, Robert, and myself went through the budget. We made the modifications as was requested. In your packet is a list of 8 items that were modified in the draft of the budget. Those are the changes that have been made. And, you know, we're very interested in talking, discussing anything else about the budget that you have an interest in, or just however the city council wants to proceed from this time. But the recommendations from the city council, from the last city council meeting, have been implemented in the proposed budget.
And we still have 2 weeks to hash out any other questions that may come up. So as always, Bill's
need to-
available.
I have,
Do we need to look at item number 6, since we just let the last ordinance go? Do we need to make any adjustments there? Since we don't know when we're going to be changing the rate to $2, we don't know when that's going to
I
happen.
mean, we could go in and reduce that revenue a little bit. I mean, if that's something that the city council would like me to do. You know, it looks like it's going to run about $1,500 a month. You know, if you think we're going to get to it in March, I could take, you know, knock that down by $3,000, or if we're going to get to it in April, knock it down by, you know, $4,500, $5,000. I could do that very, very, very easily.
I believe you need to,
Maybe
Mr.
bring it back,
Johnson.
since we'll have third reading at the next meeting.
And we'll make that change for the next council meeting.
And this change would not impact the bottom line, essentially, that we are revenue, I wouldn't say neutral, but
It would help us probably because we don't have as much expenditure.
we're not in debt,
We are not in debt.
yes.
The solid waste fund did have adequate reserves carry over to sustain a reduction in revenues of $4,500.
Gotcha.
Mr. Johnson, number 1 speaks of reducing street services account by $40,000 because of one particular project over on 10th Street. But, and I failed to look at the detail. Do we have money set aside for the possibility of the project of the sidewalking or bike lane from Westminster to Collier? There's some expense that we might
Kyle is
incur,
working on securing some funding from the state and federal government on that.
but we might still have a,
That project is not in the budget
okay.
because it's an unknown. And if we budgeted for projects that we didn't know about, we wouldn't have enough money left over to do the projects we did know about.
Okay.
But if that project comes through based on everything we know right now, it wouldn't be a 2021 construction anyway. It would be a 2022 construction. Right, Kyle? I don't think we could get that designed and engineered out the door next year. We'd be able to design it, but it would be a 2022 construction.
So we haven't gotten the approval from the state to fund the money for that change, correct?
We are looking for state assistance in funding that project.
Yeah.
Okay. My question stemmed from, I thought there was still going to be some work done between Westminster and Collier that may cost the city some money in 2021 in order to accomplish. It would be a very small project. It
The
would be
painting,
very
I think, come on, Kyle, I think the state was a little reluctant in wanting to do that.
Okay.
Was that the bike lane?
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
Which isn't
Right,
gonna
we had
happen?
talked about a bike lane, and they haven't been real receptive to that. They are gonna put some signs up there that are pedestrian walking signs.
okay.
I think that they'll probably just donate those. If not, there's signs that, it's not gonna cost much money.
Not
We
a
can
significant
produce them.
expense in 2021.
right.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. I was afraid it was about that much money that we were going to need to spend in 2021 for minor project towards towards that end.
Understood.
So thank you.
All right. Any more discussion on this? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. Moving on to third readings, we have bill number 1595, Councilman Braun.
Bill number 1595, an ordinance authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city of Fulton, Missouri, to execute an agreement with the county of Callaway, Missouri, for public emergency communication operation services for the city of Fulton for the years 2021 to 2022. I make a motion to put Bill 1595 for for final reading at tonight's meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any more discussion on this? I'll call for the question. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, no. You've heard the bill read 3 times. At this time, Madam Clerk, if you would take roll call for final vote.
Okay, Ms. Seebacher?
Yes.
Mr. Shiverdecker?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Washington?
Yes.
Mr. Braun?
Yes.
And Ms. Pace Snook?
Yes.
7 council members affirmative and 1 absent.
Okay, announcements. The remaining 2020 city council meetings will be held November 24th and December 15th. Candidate packets for the offices of 1st through 4th Ward council members and city prosecuting attorney are available in the office of the city clerk beginning November 2nd. Thereafter, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Candidate filings opens December 15th at 8 a.m. and closes January 19th at 5 p.m. For additional information, contact the city clerk, 592-3111. We do not have a need for executive session.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say yes.
Yes.